Alright, well, we got the guide bushing apart finally. Had to get some cheapy spinner wrenches and broke one trying to get it apart, but it finally did come apart. We have some bearing damage, and these are not amazing. And yeah. So what I said in the previous video with just spindle lube is wrong. You need a specialty grease, which I did buy, and I will cut that in here when I get it. And I have two new Koyo bearings on order, and then we will rebuild this thing properly. However, you can still see there's like a rubber plug there, and then there's one on the inside, yet it's plugged, so there's no way I can put in any grease into this thing without taking it apart. So I would imagine I just need a maintenance routine of like once every year or so, depending on how much I'm running it. Need to pop out these bearings, clean them, and then re-grease them, stick them back in. It has this like cage of one, and it's supposed to sandwich in between the two bearings here, and then this guy fits in between. So that's what it's riding on, is these two bearings in that housing. I sure beat up this nut getting it off, so I will need to come back with a file and make it as best I can. I really had to clamp onto it in the vise and just beat the crap out of it to get it apart. I'm thinking maybe the thermal expansion over and over again made it a little tough. I don't see any remnants of like Loctite or anything on this, so I'm thinking it was just super tight, I guess. So anyway, I will update you guys once I have my bearings and the grease, and then we can put this thing back together again. Well, no bearings and grease yet. I also caught some dang flu. Happy Thanksgiving to me. We got another plexiglass back on here. Lovely hole for this tube. I cut some plexiglass I had and remade the cover there, and then so that's all wrapped up in there. This is the actual cover that the previous owner made for it. This is for when you're making really long things. This has to stick through, as you see, and if you have that metal panel there, well, it's just gonna blow a hole right through it. And this does not care what's in the way, it's gonna go. So a couple of these are kind of blown out screw-wise, but anyway, we got her all patched up again. All we're really waiting for is those bearings and the grease, which should ship the 1st of December. There's this really cool online store called Mitsumi. However, their shipping times are just atrocious. And I asked the maintenance guy at work about it, and he said they probably have the items in stock, but they're like, they have multiple warehouses, so then they have to ship them to wherever. So I don't know. Anyway, they're coming. I'm also contemplating rearranging some things again, mainly to make room for, you know, more stuff. I have a really sweet drill press over there I never use because it's over there, and I was thinking about putting it here. So then I have the weigh scale and the tumbler. I need somewhere to go. So I'm imagining moving a table right here, and then here's the chip spinner, and then you can tumble, count, and package everything right there. You know, 5S, look at that. So we're gonna be looking at moving that Frontier table. I got this one at Bimart. They're like $180, and they're pretty darn nice for what they are. They're really narrow, 22 inches wide, and they're about 5 foot long, and you can move them up quite a bit. So their recent one has a sweet drawer that goes the whole length of it, but I only like this one because then there's one less drawer for a bunch of crap to go to. So that's gonna go live over there, and we're gonna populate it with everything for the old brownie here whenever I get another order of them. And that is what we are currently doing. I'll update you when I get the grease and the bearings here, but those are the shenanigans I'm up to. Alright, we finally got the lube and the bearings in the mail. This tiny little 50-gram tube of Kluber lubrication made in Germany is $35. And that is cheap because this same tube is like 45 to 60. So this is some primo stuff that they're extremely proud of. It is mainly used in high-speed pretty much everything. And what's annoying is that I bought it and it came in the original Amazon bubble wrap. However, Amazon's charging $45 and I only paid $35 plus shipping. So it kind of balanced out anyway. So that is that. These are my bearings from Mitsumi. They were Koyo, formerly sold as Koyo. They're labeled Koyo on them. There you go, Koyo. And these are the bearings I'm going to use. I got 2 of them. They ran me about $50 a pop. I'm going to take them out and see how they spin. And then we shall lube them up here. This might be difficult one-handed. I should really install a rig on my workbench so that I can just keep you guys in there and I don't have to hold you. And when you're replacing bearings, it's best to keep them packaged. Oh yeah, those are so much nicer. Wow. Wow. Granted, these don't have anything in them, and these do. Oh my goodness, those are so nice and smooth and pretty. So we are going to be very, well, we're going to be as generous and yet conservative as we can be with this stuff. Because that other machine, I'm sure, could use some of this whenever I get it up and going. So I'm going to try to save as much as I can. There is a slight cage, but I should be able to just pack it in there. And then I'll be able to load up this thing and get it back together again. Of course, it's got some grime from just sitting on my bench, so I'm going to clean that up. Let me do that and I'll bring you guys back. Alright, it's like 90% buttoned up. This stuff doesn't smell whatsoever, although my smell has been completely screwed up since I got COVID. So I didn't have to use very much of it, luckily, so I have at least maybe 4 or 5 services of this thing before I got to get more, so that's nice. Went together nice and smooth. Of course, I wore gloves. I re-cleaned everything, blew it off really well, give it a light coat of oil just to make sure everything's out of there. I am going to just put a few drops of blue Loctite on it, just because this thing is spinning at up to 3 grand. Could go up as high as 10, but that machine gets really scary at like 6. So I'm just going to do that for peace of mind. I fixed our nut, I guess you could call it, as best I could from the abuse it took getting this thing apart. So there's no sharp edges. I ran it on my stone and then wire wheeled it, re-dipped it, blew it off. I'll give it a light coat of oil and then we'll just screw her back together here. I'm not sure of a torque really, but I'm just going to make it tight. As long as nothing interferes with the bearing, I'm going to be just happy. So we're just going to try that, and we'll go from there. So let me button this thing up really quick. Alright, so we got it back on the machine. I haven't put the front cover on all the way. I had to loosen the block with the rods in it and then align up my 1/2 inch piece of plastic here to kind of line everything up and make it happy where it is, and then bolt it down. One of these rods is slightly smaller than this through hole, and so it kind of clicks at you if it gets closer. But right now it sounds pretty darn happy. We're gonna turn it on here. And once it gets closer to the spindle, it kind of clicks at you. But that's just that tube slapping around in there. That's about 2,000 right there. So that is a very happy bearing compared to before. So I would call that a huge win. And our material still goes through it nice. So we got the tension right. So with that, this thing is officially back to 100% capacity. That is huge for this thing. It hasn't seen that in I don't know how many years. That's a huge relief. But then we're going to undo the most of it. We're going to move that whole frickin' bar feeder. And then we're going to have to move that bar feeder. We're going to have to move all this crap. And then we're going to roll that mill just right in there. But in the meantime, this thing is 100% running. Man, that's like darn near an entire year when I got it. And it's basically paid off. There's still one more check I'm waiting for, but they did finally pay me. The next endeavor, if I have time, will be this door. There's lots of missing hardware, and the tracks are okay, but it really likes to kind of leak oil everywhere. So that'll be the next project for a later date. But mechanically speaking and functionality wise, she is 100%. So that is huge. With that, I'm probably going to run more of my little bolts there just to have them, because I got quite a bit of material left, which isn't a bad thing, I suppose. And then we will embark on this machine and diagnosing that and getting that back up to running spec here. That one we need to repair the C-axis drive, not really the drive, but the little hydraulic cylinder that activates it. I robbed it to make this one work, but we need to fix it and do a similar braze job as to what we did on this upper shaft. And then in the beginning it won't open and close the collet, so I suspect the hydraulic system needs a good thorough scrubbing and change out. From what I remember, it was pretty cloudy and gross inside of the tank. This one has a nice clean fluid, so this is the one we put all the time into. So thank you all so much for watching the silly endeavors of the old Syncom here. We will see you in the next episode.